Wrestling fans, I'm Dan Marty.
And I'm John Cena Sr.
Just like the kids that are back in school, Johnny, they love Fridays, and we love Friday night after SmackDown. A brand new Wrestling Insider's Fabulous Fridays is next. Boston wrestling sports and the MWF explodes into a new year of unknown with professional wrestling content galore, and we need you to join our family every Tuesday night at 10 p.m. after we review the previous night's Monday Night Raw. It's Wrestling Insiders at your house with the unpredictable WWE Hall of Famer, Mr. USA, Tony Atlas. Wednesday nights after WWE, NXT, and AEW at 10 p.m., you never know who's going to show up on Wrestling Insiders Special Edition. Every Thursday night at 10 p.m. after our NXT and Dynamite review, it's Marty Jannetty's No Holds Barred Sex, Drugs, and Rock and Roll journey through the 80s and 90s on Wrestling Insiders Party with Marty. Friday nights after the lights go down at the Thunderdome on SmackDown, it's John Cena Sr.'s Wrestling Insiders Fabulous Fridays. Plus, look for classic clips, bonus live episodes, pay-per-view watch-alongs, and more. If you want early, ad-free access to all of our Wrestling Insider talk shows, our acclaimed studio shoot interview DVD library, and to help keep wrestling legends working during the worst of times, for less than a cup of coffee at Starbucks, join our growing family at patreon.com/Boston Wrestling. Expect the unexpected in 2021.
This is Mick Foley.
This is Harley Race.
This is Shelton Benjamin.
This is Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff.
This is the Monster Abyss.
And this is Daniel Bryan.
This is JBL, and you're watching the MWF.
Be there live.
Wrestling fans around the corner, around the world, the Thunderdome at Tropicana Field in Tampa, Florida right now. The lights are going down, but things are just heating up. Here on Wrestling Insiders Fabulous Fridays, I'm Dan Marty, along with you.
John Cena Sr., I'm going to interrupt you right now, Mr. Marty.
Wow. And you told me you were just making your coffee now.
I just watched that Legend show on Monday Night Raw. Unbelievable. Goldberg is back.
Now, Johnny, I was going to ask you, what kind of coffee are you drinking over there?
Today it's Cafe Bustelo.
Not Folgers or anything like that.
Well, I have Folgers.
You're a Folgers guy.
I have Starbucks, but I like Cafe Bustelo. It's a nice espresso, deep, rich, dark roast. Got that great flavor to it.
Where do you get the Cafe Mustela? If we're going to give him a cheap plug, I guess.
That and Mortadella d'Oro.
Now, is this Italian coffee, I'm going to guess, from the pronunciation?
Mortadella d'Oro is Italian coffee. I grew up with that stuff. And Cafe Bustelo, you can get that at Shaw's, Market Basket. You can get it online through Kruig if you like.
So yep. It's not a vintage rare coffee or anything. Anyone can get it.
Oh, yeah. Mortadella d'Oro is that's the old-timers coffee. That's what all the Italians drank when they came over. That was good coffee. It still is. I've only been able to find it in instant. So I'm not happy with the instant.
You're not happy with the instant?
No. I'm an old-fashioned do-it-percolator, yep.
Believe it, even at my age, I have still yet to have a cup of coffee in my life.
Well, we'll have to fix that.
You think that's what makes me so grumpy?
I can't tell you this. Kids, here's what makes you grumpy. No.
Well, Tony always tells me it's because I don't eat breakfast. Tony said the carbs make the brain happy.
Yep. Okay. That's
so I don't know.
Let's get this son of a bitch out of the Hall of Fame, right?
Get who out of the Hall of Fame?
Mick Foley. Boy, I got to see his Twitter post.
You want to get Mick Foley out of the Hall of Fame?
No. Mick had a post, and I haven't had a chance to read it because I was at the hospital. And Mick said to Vince, let's get this son of a bitch out of our Hall of Fame.
Now, who's he talking about?
I have no idea. I've got to read the tweet.
No, I already know the answer. I was just kind of breaking him on you. He is referring to the one of the featured attractions in the celebrity wing of the WWE Hall of Fame. Mick wants out of the Hoff. Would you toss him?
Who is it?
The current president of the United States, Donald Trump.
I would think, and I'll be right up front with you, my friends and fans, and I was a Trumper. I was a fan. I think after yesterday, I think, yeah, I'd get him out.
Do you think one should have to do with the other?
I'll tell you what, when you do look at what happened to Hulk Hogan, look what happened to some of the other people that were
Superfly Jimmy Snuka.
Yeah, look at the situations that existed. What I saw yesterday, you realize, and I don't know if you probably do read a lot. I love to read. Nothing
This,
has
just so
happened to
fans know, this would have been 2 days ago by the time this airs on Friday night. We're taping this on Thursday.
Yeah, 1812 is the last time the Capitol was stormed by British troops who burned the Capitol. That's embarrassing to the United States of America. Please, you know what? You just don't do those kinds of things as President of the United States. You just don't do it.
Well, I try to avoid the politics here, Johnny, but where it is wrestling related, where Mick brought it up as far as Trump's removal from the Hall of Fame, how much do you hold Trump accountable for what happened yesterday?
I say this. Our president, and God bless Donald Trump. I didn't mean that. And God bless America, the greatest country in the world. Probably one of the few presidents that really did just about everything he said he would. And who was hunted down from the day he was sworn in till he leaves office. They try to get him out.
Mm-hmm.
The situation is this. Yesterday proved to me that a person standing up there making those kinds of comments and stirring the pot so that it boils over, wrong thing. Just not the right thing. The rally never should have been held. The statements never should have been made. I mean, do I believe there was some situations with the election? I really don't know because they don't have all the facts. Mm-hmm. It looks like there are some smoke and mirrors there. I think the worst thing the country ever did was allow mail-in ballots, not verifying voters. There's a lot of things that question what's happened. But the fact is, a man has been elected to the position by supposedly popular vote and the Electoral College. So my whole thing is, then you know what? Be a man. Say, thank you, America, for letting me serve 4 years. Hopefully, the transition will be very smooth. There'll be no disruption. And I'll see you in 4. That's not what happened. I think the situation that exists now is just not right. It's questionable from the standpoint of the Make America Great. And I guess, I don't know the words to use to get myself not in trouble, but I guess the potential standing physically and mentally of the individual who's making those statements.
You're worried about the president's mental health? Is that what I'm reading between the lines?
I'm worried about the president, period. He's under a lot of stress, a lot of pressure. He's done a lot of good things, and a lot of bad things. Let's take a look at all the presidents. They all have done a lot of stupid things. I think yesterday, I've talked to a lot of friends, a lot of people who, like me, voted for Mr. Trump, a lot of people who were behind Mr. Trump. I'm not saying I'm not still behind him, but I think the thing that happened yesterday is unconscionable. I think they should invoke the 25th Amendment.
Really?
Yes.
That's quite a statement. Well, to me, the ultimate voter shenanigans would boil down to what happened in 2000 with Bush and Gore down in Florida. But again, this isn't meant to go the political route, but I thought that was the ultimate con job. But with Trump, it almost seems like he's still trying to sell tickets to a live event that already took place. You know what I mean?
Can't do it. It's over. Let's face facts, my friend.
The event's over. He didn't draw what he wanted to draw, but he's still trying to sell tickets.
You pin my shoulders. You can do whatever you want. Match is over. Bow out as a gentleman. Give kudos to the American people who stood behind you. Look at the progress that you made, the things that no other president has ever done. He outshines a lot of presidents, and back down. But yesterday, I hate to say this, I think that yesterday was the most embarrassing day the United States of America has ever faced since 1812. Well, to allow First of all, what kind of security do we have in Washington if those people were allowed to storm the Capitol and enter the building and smash windows?
Well, you could say that about, but look at everything that's gone on all summer, cities that were burning for weeks. I mean, what does that say about the security? No matter what your political stance might be.
We have proved to the world that we are no longer the United States of America.
Divided States of America.
United we stand, divided we fall. Ben Franklin said it the right way. And right now, we're a country divided. Joe Biden's job is to unite the country. He's got to bring it back to one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The country needs to be made one, and it's not.
Do you think if Jim Ross was doing the commentary back on election night, he would have said the sleepy generation has begun?
I think you're right.
Nothing against future President, Mr. Joe Biden, but it's just a lot of turmoil in the country right now. As far as the Hall of Fame removal, though, Johnny, I don't know. I am a registered independent. I always like to throw that out there, so I don't have a huge amount of skin in the game on either side. But I look at what Trump's accomplishments were within the annals of professional wrestling, and as far as anyone goes, as far as a quote-unquote celebrity, he ranks right up there amongst them, Johnny. He was involved in putting together WrestleMania 4 and 5 at Trump Plaza in Atlantic City. He had several other cameos in WWE over the years. He was involved in what was the biggest WrestleMania in the history, not the biggest WrestleMania, but the biggest event in wrestling history when they did that hair versus hair match back in 2007 at WrestleMania 23 in Detroit, Michigan. They did an angle that set Wall Street on fire in the wrong way when investors honestly thought that Trump bought WWE from Vince McMahon, and an angle gone wrong on Monday Night Raw when people believed in that one a little bit too much, and the stock went absolutely insane. But that's a different story for a different time, too. I think if you eliminate the politics from it, as far as what Trump did with his time in wrestling, I mean, there's very few celebrities that meant more.
You know what? I can only pick up on a couple of things. We had WrestleMania at Trump Plaza. I hate to say it. Trump's a businessman, probably one of the best, as some others are. But I'll bet you Vince paid a nice chunk of change to have WrestleMania there. So that's a wash in my book. Again, I use professional wrestlers who have done, in my opinion, significantly less than what I saw yesterday, removed from the Hall of Fame, their names stricken. I'm sorry, it is what it is.
So you think, and I'm going to ask your honest opinion here, Johnny, you think that the Hulkster being caught on camera using the N-word several times is not on par with what we saw on Wednesday in Washington?
What Hulkster did with the N, that word should never be used. That's degrading. That's not a good word.
I agree.
You cannot. It's just not right. But that word, yes, it brought attention. It made people stand up and think and realize. Do you know what happened yesterday? People were in terror. They were afraid for their lives. The country was being overthrown. Washington, the Capitol, because one man decided to stir the pot. One man decided to say it wasn't right. They stole it from me. We shouldn't give up. And then when the riot got out of hand, the man said, please go home peacefully. The police officers and soldiers are on our side. You can't do that. That's wrong. He does not. Please, it's only my opinion. I'll probably get chewed out to the 8th degree. But this man truly does not deserve to be in the Hall of Fame after what occurred yesterday.
You don't even think he deserves to be in the White House at this point?
I would say at this point, the man needs a rest.
Well, if nothing else, he's got less than 2 weeks until he has an extended rest. But even look at Superfly Jimmy Snuka, who remains in the Hall of Fame, Johnny. The evidence points towards it. At the very, very least, the man committed manslaughter, and he still remains in the Hall of Fame. You still think, even with that said about the Hulkster and the Fly, that the Donald should be out?
Just think about this. If that was allowed, to get out of control the way it looked like it was going to do. First of all, you have 4 people dead. 4 people have died already because of this. There's tremendous upheaval in Washington, busted windows, rampaging senators and congressmen's offices. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding
Where
me?
was the security, though, Johnny? Is still what baffles me. I mean, granted, there were thousands upon thousands of people trying to get in, but you'd think they would have had a better plan in place. It wasn't like that this was a surprise out of the blue. The rally was planned. They knew this day was coming for the Electoral College vote. You would have thought they would have had some heavy-duty security already in place in a worst-case scenario, which we saw, maybe even a worse than worst-case scenario.
I don't think, personally, they expected the magnitude or the numbers that they saw yesterday, nor did they expect to see the total disrespect, and that's the only word I can use, for the United States of America and this country's flag. Why would you want to take down the flag of this country, the red, white, and blue, representing the blood, sweat, and tears of all the soldiers and people who lived and died to make this country the way it is, so you and I can walk down the street, can complain, can organize, can hold rallies and not be shot or put in jail? Do you think for 1 minute, if this were in any other country other than the United States of America, those people would still be walking? Those people would not be in jail cells?
Well,
God bless America. And you want to take the flag down and put up a Trump flag? Whoa. Donald Trump is Donald Trump. Donald Trump is not Jesus Christ.
I think if this was over in Iran, Johnny, that the Sheik would probably be having a busy few weeks humbling people for their
I
crimes.
tell you, but Mr. Trump, I tell you, Marty, I take them people, break their back, make them humble, forget that, all over. Don't do that. No. I think it's very sad when other world leaders are looking at the United States of America, the greatest country, was the strongest country in the world, and sees the disassociation. You know, everything I see right now is leading towards a socialistic form of government. Everything you see, everything you hear. You know what? Cities and towns and states, they want to secede from the union. Good luck. Have a nice day. No more federal funding, no more support, no more of this from the federal. Go ahead, run your own show and see what happens. It won't work.
Well, we're certainly in for some interesting times in the United States of America and the world right now. Who would have thought we would have had a story that in some cases topped the recent coronavirus news?
Oh, my God. There's another story for another time.
One hit after another.
That's being blown out of proportion, in my opinion. Yes, we have a situation. Yes, we have to be careful. Why aren't the vaccines being given out the way they should? Why do we have sabotage with 500 doses being sabotaged by a pharmacist who left it out of the freezer? Why are we not getting this out the way it should be? Why did we not have 20 million people vaccinated as Donald Trump predicted we should have had? Why is the president coming in, said in his first 100 days there'll be 100 million vaccinated? I don't understand this.
I think it would be very interesting if we had you and Tony down here together for one of his political shows, the Atlas World News sometimes, where you both have very strong beliefs about some of the world events. I think that would be interesting for the fans, maybe in a non-wrestling capacity. Even Marty Jannetty, he was actually the one that alerted me to what was going on in Washington on Wednesday afternoon. When he texted me, he said, Marty, get the TV on. And I couldn't believe my eyes. It was like it's something out of a movie.
Isn't it really?
Yeah.
It is not. And then I see this clown in one of the pictures. He's wearing a set of deer horns. He's wrapped in fur, bare-chested, face painted. I'm going, wait a minute.
It looked like he was going to a wrestling show.
Do you know what that was like? Stop and look back in history. And I mean, go back in history. That was the Huns taking over Rome.
Well, I can't speak to that man's mindset, but I do remember seeing a photo of him.
Oh, crazy. There are quite a few of them there. It's insane. You know what happens when you it's, I always say this about professional wrestling. Professional wrestling is like the Roman arena. People will get excited to the point where they wanted that person, break them up, break a leg, break an arm, cut them up, do that. That's what professional wrestling today is. It's obviously entertainment. But that's what incited the crowd to the point of they cheer for the good guy, cheer for the bad guy, boo, or whatever. That reminded me yesterday, I'm saying, wow, that's a picture of the Huns coming into Rome, the greatest and strongest country in the world, that sat on its butt because nobody wanted to do anything, and they took over Rome. That was a crazy example yesterday. When I saw that picture of that guy, and I saw some of those other people dressed up and painted with, I'm going, whoa, stop the music. Just take a look at are we repeating history? Is history repeating itself?
Well, let me ask you this. I almost called you Tony. I can't believe I get my co-hosts confused sometimes where you're such unique individuals. But do you think, Johnny, and I am somewhat serious about this, for the right price, that Vince could get Donald to shoot an angle once he's out of the White House?
I would say he could.
Imagine the heat that would, and the attention that would get. That might be the right celebrity angle they need. It would certainly turn off an awful lot of people, but I think there's a lot of fans that would want to see Donald get some comeuppance for everything that's gone on.
Donnie comes in as the heel. The angle is they're going to take his ring and smash it. They're going to drum him out of the Hall of Fame. He now files suit against the WWE, and the battle begins. The battle of the billionaires. Vince McMahon against Donald Trump. Will he or will he not? And we actually put Dizzy Donnie in a match against Vincent Kennedy McMahon.
I don't think we need that. We didn't need that in 2007. They're more than suitable as outside the ring managers, but maybe your son could be the man that defends the honor of WWE against a villain that Trump brings in. I think that would make John the ultimate American hero, maybe.
We'll see.
We'll see. Well, anything can happen in world wrestling entertainment, as they say. But aside from Mick's desire to see Trump removed from Washington, certainly yet an interesting week in our genre. We saw the Raw Legends night at Tropicana Field in Florida, the home of the Thunderdome for Raw and SmackDown. And a lot of fans are extremely disappointed with the night overall, Johnny. And I have to say, I was one of them. They didn't have much for the legends they brought in.
Nope. Very weak. I'll say it was enjoyable because to see all those legends in one place. But I think storylines, let's take a look at what happened. Charlotte Flair turning on her father.
And making him look like an idiot.
All I know is, and then, like I say, Goldberg back again on McIntyre. If McIntyre doesn't tear him up and throw him away, if he takes the belt from McIntyre, that's it.
What do you mean that's it?
If he wins, if he goes over McIntyre, if Goldberg goes over, I think the fans are just going to say, eh.
I think
that. Why would you do that match anyway? Come on, Marty.
Well, here's the thing. Goldberg now has, I believe, 6 matches left over the next 3 years total. Yep. So they're going to try and get the maximum value out of those matches. Would I rather see it happen at Royal Rumble instead of WrestleMania? Overwhelmingly, yes. Last year's Goldberg angle had turned into a disaster more than the creative, I think, coronavirus. I thought it was a horrible, horrible creative decision to have Goldberg defeat The Fiend for the championship. Horrible idea. But we never really get to see the payoff to it, which would have been nothing again. And I think The Fiend right now is probably the hottest star in WWE. But I think you could make the argument that it would have been a bigger marquee match at WrestleMania to have Roman Reigns against a legend like Goldberg than to have Roman Reigns against The Fiend, which is a match that could be done at any time. We never get to see Roman and Goldberg for the reasons that have been mentioned before, where Roman felt uncomfortable being in WWE for several months, where he has so many youngsters at home, which is certainly understandable and respectable. I was under the impression that one of Goldberg's 2 matches this year would be against the man that sits at the head of the table at WrestleMania 37 at a place to be named, likely Tampa, Florida this April. But WWE, they surprised a lot of people by bringing him out to End Legends Night to confront McIntyre like that. And I say this, out of the opponents that Goldberg has faced, I think compared to The Fiend and Braun Strowman, I think McIntyre can get a better 5, 6, 7-minute match out of Goldberg than they can. One man's opinion.
I wouldn't disagree with that. I would not disagree with you at all on that. If anybody's going to make, and don't get me wrong, I take nothing away from Goldberg's athleticism. He's a guy in great shape. He looks, and when he said, I feel like I've been beating up my dad. I don't think your dad's built like Goldberg. That guy was a solid piece of rock. I mean, kudos to you, Goldberg. I may knock in and make a few comments, but you know what? He's still got a few rides left. But if you're going to put him on the ride, at least put him in a position where you don't embarrass him. You elevate him.
Right.
And this is what they're doing. It's not working in Goldberg's favor. And maybe it's okay. As Booker T said, it's a paycheck. Okay, fine. It's a paycheck. Great. But at least don't humiliate the man.
I think from a physical credibility point of view, Goldberg has much more than AEW is getting from Sting right now, who has to wrestle under a T-shirt. And that's nothing against Sting. Sting is in his early 60s, but as far as there's only a few of these legends left that can really get in there and go and get a little extra attention for the companies they're going to work for. Sting and Goldberg obviously are 2 of them. I think, again, from that credibility point of view, from physicality, when Goldberg goes out there, granted he's not the gassed-up Goldberg of 1998, but he still looks like a bad man that could kick your ass. Sting,
I wouldn't want to.
I don't want to say he looks elderly, but, he's, again, has to wrestle under a T-shirt. Once I think T-shirt time comes, it's time to hang up the boots.
Booker T said it best when he was asked if he had any more left in him. He's got to stay in shape to be the Booker T, to be the man, to be what the fans remember. I believe his advice to Sting was, it's a young man's game. And I can't disagree with that. I used to do stuff way back that I can't do now. I'm sure Booker T's the same way, as is Sting. You know what? Name value goes a long way. But when you start bringing in those types of individuals to perform, they perform at a limited, what's the word I want to use? What's the word I'm trying to find? A limited showing. How's that? Because
almost like with what the restaurants and the movie theaters are dealing with right now, limited capacity.
There you go. And people are there because, well, I never saw Sting. Sting's over. Bret Hart, another great human being, that would draw. Goldberg, I take nothing away from Goldberg. That's not what I'm trying to do when I make my sundry comments. I'm trying to say that if you're going to take a man of this caliber who holds some credibility, at least give him the chance to get some credibility. Don't squash him. Don't put him in matches where he can't go. Don't embarrass him to the point where the match looks like a piece of garbage. That's not doing anything for the individual, nor the organization, nor the person that's facing him.
Well, I have to say that as much as on paper it might not have been a bad idea, the execution of what they did with him in 2020, it was just horrendous. Both of those matches he had with Strowman and The Fiend, both of them left a lot to be desired. And then the one the previous summer when he wrestled Undertaker, that could have created a serious injury for either man.
There you go. And you know what? I'm going to digress. I want to give myself a little tap on the shoulder. When I first met Bray Wyatt, I said to him, all I want to say to you is that I think you probably have one of the best gimmicks right now in WWE that I've seen in a long time. And look what this young man is. Look what this young man is today. I mean, I still say, I know you disagree. somebody who's very close to me disagrees, but I understand why they put the Beast over the Undertaker at Mania, which I think never should have happened. But if anybody should have taken that urn and the mystique and the magic, it should have been Bray Wyatt. That would have been one hell of a match, one hell of a return, a lot of storylines there, and the Beast could come in and take them both out. And
Well, I tell you this, if you were talking about Fiend Bray Wyatt, I could see your argument, but I think rocking chair Bray Wyatt doing the Waylon Mercy type persona, I think that got very stale after a while, and that's not exactly Bray Wyatt's fault. I think a lot of it was creativity, and I think a lot of it was overexposure. It didn't need to be on TV 52 weeks per year when the man was healthy. The rocking chair Bray Wyatt, it got old and stale towards the end, to the point where look at what they did with him before they created The Fiend, when they had him teaming with, of all people, broken or woken Matt Hardy, whatever version he was in WWE, in a presentation that I don't think too many people really cared to see. I think you and I, we said that the whole presentation was broken, and Matt took the two of us to task on Twitter when that episode aired. But again, it was nothing against the man, Matt Hardy. It's just a character that I certainly don't like or enjoy, and I don't think you were a huge fan of either.
No.
I think it made him look like a fool, but again, one man's opinion.
I agree.
But I love Fiend. I think Fiend is the hottest thing in the company right now.
I agree. I agree.
But let me ask you this, Johnny, as we continue conversation and I talk over you, as different ideas pop into my head. I don't like at all what they've done with The Fiend and Alexa Bliss, turning her into the mentality of a 6-year-old girl, I guess. I don't think that's going to help the presentation of The Fiend.
No, I would disagree. Somebody is not putting two and two together here. If they want to bring in Sister Annabelle.
Abigail.
Annabelle, Abigail, Dizzy Bell, whatever her name is. I think that, and I really mean this, the writers missed the boat on that, because Sister Abigail could have been, what was it? With that little doll in the movies, Annabelle.
Annabelle, right.
That would have been a great addition to that storyline, and it can still be a great addition to the storyline with The Fiend. But I don't think they're going about it the wrong way. They're going about it the wrong way. It's not going to help anybody at this point.
I think it is going to castrate, and I think it's almost impossible to do to a woman, but from a character presentation, I think you castrate the Alexa Bliss character by turning her into this possessed woman for no reason at all, and then at some point they're eventually just going to drop it and forget it, and she's going to go back to normal. And those are the types of things that make fans roll their eyes and make them not want to continue to tune in. I think The Fiend, as The Fiend was and The Fiend is, I think is great. I thought the angle with Randy Orton was kind of hot, no pun intended. It was kind of intense, lighting him on fire, where they have the ability to kind of edit and do certain things live and do certain things post-produced. I think you can get really creative with The Fiend right now. There is some hits, there is some misses. I mentioned over the summer, I thought that swamp match, or whatever it was supposed to be, with The Fiend and Braun Strowman was one of the atrocities of the decade. But I really liked the Orton and Fiend fire match that they did.
That was, I got to tell you, how I can knock it and how I can praise it. I thought that was outstanding.
It was like something out of a really good horror movie.
That's exactly right. And that's what they need. That's the kind of stuff they need. And that's why if they bring Alexa in and do what they're doing, bring her in as Abigail, that conjuring doll, that weird little thing that makes things happen. I can see it in my head. But I don't do creative. They just hired a new person to create it.
Maybe if they ever did want to go that route with the Sister Abigail, maybe when The Fiend comes back from being burned alive, maybe his sister comes with him and takes out Alexa off of the little swing set.
Be nice.
It'd be nice. I think that the sooner they get Alexa Bliss out of that, the better it's going to be for her long term, because the fans have memories as much as WWE sometimes likes to think they don't remember things.
I agree.
And it's just to have Randy Orton go back and forth with her in a swing set is just, it's mind-blowing to me. And I don't say that as someone that has been a wrestling fan going back to 1986. I don't say that as someone that's worked in wrestling since 93. I say that as someone that has money invested in the company as a stockholder. It's ridiculous.
I think Randy Orton's going off the deep end, especially, I was not a fan of pulling on Hardy's ears. That certainly did nothing for me. I don't know if it did anything for you. Pulling on the earlobes.
I think it was a little queasy to watch, but I think it was a pretty cool visual. I think it made Randy look like a real monster trying to do it, really vicious, a real heel, which WWE lacks. They don't have enough bad guys that act like heels. Everybody wants to be, funny and joking like Miz and Morrison and AJ Styles. And how many heels other than The Fiend do they have in that company, and maybe Roman, that are presented as an actual dangerous threat that cheat and can hurt you? I think with Randy Orton, they have that, as opposed to most of the heels they present as morons that people aren't going to want to boo or see get hurt. They just laugh at them.
I can appreciate that. Like the kick in the head. Yeah, Randy's quite the heel. Works out well. Well, no, it worked. It worked, and that's all that counts.
You worked. Drew.
It worked.
You
that's
drew.
All that I did. It was Randy Orton and my son, and the plan that McMahon had in the background for that, and the writers. That was all so well put together. And when I saw Orton do that, I'm going, you know what? This is just kind of crazy. It's really stupid to see this because some kid's going to try it. There are other ways to make this guy to be evil, vicious, the legend killer, so to speak. We can joke, kid, back and forth, but I think that Charlotte Flair kind of killed the legend when she said, "Stay out of my business, get out of my life," to her father. I mean, I don't know what's going to come out of that storyline. I still haven't figured that.
And I said this during the review we did of the show, Johnny. You know what? Nothing against Charlotte Flair. I think she may be perhaps the greatest female athlete they've ever had in women's wrestling. But I think Ric Flair taking a piss back in 1986 will draw more than Charlotte Flair will in her entire career. And to embarrass the legacy of Ric Flair like that, and it wasn't the first time they've done it, it was a turn off to me. What I did think was hilarious was who I think is one of the better personas, maybe not in-ring competitors, but one of the better personas on the show, Lacey Evans, flirting with the Nature Boy. I really like that. I'd like to see them do more with it.
It just says, woo! I still got it.
Maybe there's one more ride left on Space Mountain for the lady, Lacey Evans.
I think so. Listen, never count that man out. I'll tell you, Ric Flair is one of the finest and the best. I've worked with him several times, and I'll tell you what, they're all gentlemen. They're all superstars. But Flair just has that. He has a different type of persona, a different way of doing business. Great human being. And I think, once again, you take a daughter turning on her father. I'm not too sure that makes a lot of sense, the way it was done and how it's done. But then again, I'm not a writer. I'm just a viewer.
What did you think of the Hulkster's return?
Well, brother, let me tell you something, brother. I thought it was...
I'm really not a fan of Hulk Hogan. I think the Hulkster's done a lot for the business. Hulk Hogan is Hulk Hogan. I think a lot of people were happy to see the Hulkster back. I'm a kind of guy that says forgive and forget. But then we're right back where we started from when we opened the program.
Yeah. Well, with his interaction with McIntyre, I would have liked to have seen that without Jimmy Hart and Sheamus kind of watering it down. But again, that's one man's opinion. I think McIntyre would have got more out of it if he just kind of bumped into the Hulkster, or the Hulkster said, "Brother, I know you have this big match with Keith Lee tonight. I'm going to be right out there front and center to watch it," as opposed to, Hogan first saying to Sheamus, "I'm your biggest fan." Like, anyone is going to believe that. Sheamus, who, while he's had a couple of title runs, has been primarily a mid-carder his career in WWE. And then to have Jimmy Hart act like an imbecile chasing him around with the megaphone just to get them out of the scene. I would have liked to have seen a segment with just Hogan and McIntyre themselves. I think McIntyre would have got more rub out of it, and I think Hogan would have come across more seriously.
I agree with that. And I think even if they teased that match, which they should have gone between Hulkster and McIntyre, you know what? Hulkster's got one more left.
Oh, I don't know about that.
Yeah, well, but you know what? You don't have to do it. You merely have to, whether they have to say, open the door and let the lollipops in, sucker them in. I mean, that's the whole idea of professional wrestling. You create the storyline and you make the story go any way you want it to so that it makes fiction or nonfiction reality. But
why let the fans down is the way I look at it. It was almost like all those teases over the years they had of different Steve Austin returns that never happened that the fans really wanted to see.
Oh, Austin would bring the house down.
No kidding.
Bring the house down.
And I have to say this, Johnny, I was very disappointed that one of the advertised superstars for the reunion did not appear, former Millennium Wrestling Federation heavyweight champion Carlito.
Yeah, that was a surprise to me. I don't know why that. Maybe you've got some inside information.
I'd like to get it because I was really looking forward to seeing Carlito.
There make two of us.
It was good to see Boogeyman. It was good to see Tatanka, who was just here in the studio a couple of weeks ago. But, I was interested to see what they were going to do with Carlito. Carlito, certainly could fit into that roster present day. I wouldn't put him in a Legends category by any stretch of the imagination. But he just, on his Twitter, when he was asked why he wasn't there, he took some kind of a video image that had nothing to do with him, and it was just the shrug of someone's shoulders. So
there had to be something. I don't want to surmise. I don't want to guess because then if I assume I make an ass out of you and me, I don't want to do that. I think it was great to see Tatanka there, Boogeyman, all great professional wrestlers. It was just so good to sit there and see those men who deserve, and women, who deserve the credibility they deserve, the recognition they deserve. But I was looking forward to Carlito. I did several shows with him. He's a great athlete, great performer. I worked at Tatanka, Boogeyman. So I was kind of like, wow, this is going to be a great night. And then when he wasn't there, I wonder if the apple was bad and he wouldn't take a bite.
Well, there were a lot of forgettable appearances from those superstars that they did bring in for the Legends Night. But, Johnny, I have to get your opinion on this one on our Twitter. I hate to say anything negative about our dear friends at WWE where they've been so good to us over the years, especially you with the relations you've had with them. But, again, not as someone that has been a wrestling fan for so long, not as someone that has worked in the industry and has even worked its stints with WWE on certain projects over the year. But as someone that has money invested in their stock, I could not believe the advertising for this show, Johnny, that I saw in the last few days leading up to it. For the top 5 superstars that they were advertising via social media and on their website and such, do you know who the 5 legends were that they were trying to push to get you to try and entice you to watch this show as every business metric of popularity continues to be in free fall?
Why don't you give me those 5?
Hulkster, Nature Boy, Big Show, Booker T. You had potential former WrestleMania main eventers like Sergeant Slaughter you could have thrown in that 5th slot, but nope. Any idea, Johnny, if you want to throw a wild guess, out of all those greats that we saw on that stage, who they decided to be the 5th person to throw into the advertising?
No.
Mickey James.
You heard what I just said, right?
You don't want to hear it, you mean?
I didn't say anything, did I?
Johnny, I could not believe I can believe it because they have their women's agenda they want to push. Women, I get it. But I'm going to tell you this, Johnny, when they had the live events, if you go back to when they started to push this Give Divas a Chance hashtag back in the summer of 2015, the ratings that week were nearly double what they are right now, if anyone actually wants to look at business metrics. Can anyone say to Dan Marati, to John Cena Sr., to anyone that owns WWE stock to anyone that's a WWE fan has what many could consider over-pushing these women the past 5 years. Has it done anything positive for the wrestling industry other than to say then maybe they're giving equal opportunity? And I don't have a problem with that. I think these hardworking young ladies who are probably the best grouping of female athletes they've ever had, I'd like to see them have their own TV show, and all the fans that love women's wrestling can enjoy that every week. I think presenting them as often as they do on what would be the quote-unquote regular shows, I think it's watered down the men's presentation because what they do physically does not really compare to a lot of what the men do with the more hard-hitting, believable style of work. I think it hurts the company the way they present the women the way they do. I think advertising Mickie James out of those 5, I was blown away, considering some of the, I mean, look at, you had Sergeant Slaughter, not just someone that main evented a WrestleMania, but someone that was a mainstream celebrity with G.I. Joe. Catching him in an advertisement might say, geez, you know, I'm kind of interested to see what Sergeant Slaughter is up to. I can't think of anyone that's all that interested to see what Mickie James is up to in 2020. 2021, I should say. I don't know. It's one man's opinion, but I was just, as someone that has money invested in that company, I was disgusted.
Well, all I can say is this, that you have to remember one thing, that everybody you've talked about has been a male. I'm an advocate, as you know, of female professional wrestling.
Big time.
I've been an advocate. I've carried the banner for a long time, saying that these women have been underutilized, that they've been not utilized correctly. They've been put in stupid gimmick pudding matches, mud matches, pillow fights, bra and panty matches. That's not what it's all about. These women have come full circle, and a lot of these women, I think, could probably out-wrestle some of these guys, or these men, if I can use the word properly. So in terms of stockholder, in terms of people in the business or people that own an interest in WWE had to, and I'm not sticking up for anybody, I think the world of Mickie James. Believe me, I've worked with her. She's an outstanding athlete, a great country singer, a great human being. But the fact of the matter is, do you have anybody else? Because you need to represent the total picture, which includes male, female. I'm surprised they didn't have any little people in there, like Hogswallow. But do you think of any of the female that you would have put in there, or females that you would have added to that advertising to encourage people to watch?
I would hit, out of the ones, the females that they actually had there that night, first of all, I think even including Alicia Fox in the grouping is an insult to the term legend. But I won't even go there, considering her greatest contribution to the company was getting drunk and getting Arn Anderson fired. But I think I would say Tori Wilson, I think, has more name value than Mickie James.
Well, I don't know if there's heat or not between the company.
Well, she was there.
Victoria would have been a good one to bring back.
Yeah.
I think Tori Wilson, you're right on the money there. Mickie James comes to mind. Those 3 people. There are others. Trish Stratus.
She was. If Trish was there, I could legitimately see Trish, where she kind of was a female trailblazer for her era.
Yes,
but certainly not Mickie James. Mickie James. The most memorable thing that pops to my mind is they had to edit the WrestleMania 22 DVD because the match live with Trish Stratus was so bad. I don't know. It doesn't make sense to me. No, Mickie James.
Guerrero?
Mickie James and Tori Mickie James and Trish Stratus from WrestleMania 22. The match was so bad that they had to edit it on the DVD version.
I agree, but what I'm saying is that if you think of other women, Vicky Guerrero, all these people that might have been
Vicky's in AEW. She's not coming in anytime soon.
I understand that, but all I'm saying to you is this. When you start thinking about people, and the complaint is, well, Mickie James. Well, who else did they have? And you're probably right. Maybe they should have thrown Trish Stratus out there, or Tori Wilson out there.
Or maybe they just should have taken the 5 biggest names they had star power-wise and promote them. That's my only point.
Why do they have to throw a woman in there? I don't think that.
Well, I have to disagree with you because you have to remember that this is not a male-dominated sport, that there are young women out there and older women out there who have done as much, if not more, than some of these men in professional wrestling. And they, too, deserve the recognition that these gentlemen deserve. I tell you, I've been an advocate. I've been singing this song for a long time.
A long time.
And I would be personally myself, I would be very upset if it was strictly a male ad. Here it is. You mean to tell me that of all the superstars you have, of all the legends you have, there's not one female that's worthy of that position? I call BS.
Well, I'm going to tell you the women that they had at that show that I can think of off the top of my head were Melina, Tori Wilson, Mickey James, Alicia Fox, and Molly Holly. Are you trying to tell me that one of those women contributed more to the genre and have more name value than someone like Sergeant Slaughter?
I'm not arguing. All I'm saying is this to you. See, your mind is closed. You have to open up your mind.
All right, open it up for me, brother.
But you have to look at this. You keep telling you're a stockholder, you're disappointed. You have to open it up that if you want to talk from a business standpoint, you have to understand something, that WWE is not solely owned by men. There are women who have stock in this company. And I say this to you, and I'm just being me. If I were Vince, and I'm not, one of the greatest minds of professional wrestling, Paul Levesque, Stephanie McMahon, Linda, Shane, how can you beat that brain group? You can't. And so when you
if you look at the consistent declines in business metrics over the past few decades, there are a lot of things you can question.
Well, but you've just gained 2 million viewers with the Legends.
Sure, for 1 week.
Right. So what does that tell you?
People like the Legends. They like the good old days.
Yep. And what it tells you is that we've maybe Vince in his own mind and Paul, Triple H, Stephanie, they're all sitting back going, maybe we need a little more of this. What will it take to gain? Even if you gained to 500,000. But remember, when you promote your great show, you cannot be totally focused on the male. If you want to know something, maybe some of these people that they have there, what happened to Shawn Michaels? What happened to Sergeant Slaughter? What happened to a couple of these greats that should have been there that weren't? Hulk Hogan?
Well, Sergeant Slaughter was there.
I know, but again, you're talking about the ad.
Right.
So, why? You needed to include the other factor that I keep saying is an important part of this business. You and I can go, and we do go back and forth.
We do.
Quite a bit. Women are an integral part of this business. They have been for a long time. They were misused and abused in many cases.
And I don't disagree with that part.
But they've come into their own. You look at some of these female wrestlers from Japan. Take a look at Natalya. I think she's an outstanding performer. Victoria was an outstanding performer.
But have any of them ever sold a ticket, Johnny? I mean, let's be realistic. You think anyone has ever really gone out of their way to say, geez, I really want to go and see Natalya or Victoria live at a WWE event? I mean, I think they've been a nice appetizer to some of the main courses, but I certainly don't think they've been anything close to the main course.
But you remember now, you're talking about two different factors here. When you put those females and those women into the right atmosphere, the right types of matches, people will come. And so you can't downplay it. You can't have the both the best world. You can't say, oh, we're going to recognize the women and then downplay them. That doesn't work. So I say yes. I would say yes, that some of these women, Trish Stratus, yes, has put asses in seats. Has Victoria put asses in seats? I believe she has. Mickey James. No. Look when she had that thing with Trish Stratus.
No, that meant nothing. The business was in the go. Oh, well.
But you can't say that because you have no way to separate the tickets out and say, oh, these people came to see Dan Marty fight Shawn Michaels, and the other 1/4 came to see Linda Marty fight my good friend, Vicky Guerrero. You have no way to separate that out.
When
So
you see the fans largely get up and go to the bathroom when the women's matches take place at the live events, I think that's a pretty telling sign.
Well, wait,
I think when you look at every business metric since they started to push Give Divas a Chance in July of 2015, and the ratings are slashed literally in half, there's not one metric that's up outside of WWE Network subscriptions that went up during Corona time, but that's kind of misleading right there too, because I think just about every streaming service on the planet went up due to Corona times.
You've got to see, I think you're too far out there. You really are too far out.
I've been told that many times in life.
Yeah, well, I really think because, in order for us, you're really trying to make a point. But I think that what you need to do is take a look at the big picture. They're an intricate part of professional wrestling. I don't care, Vicky Guerrero may be at AEW, but the fact of the matter is she did a lot to show that not only can you be a general manager, a manager, and a wrestler. Look what she did to say, look, it's not just a man's profession. We belong in this profession. You've got some outstanding female wrestlers from Japan that showed, hey, look what we can do. I work with a young lady, and I'm sorry, but I don't remember the name. Outstanding hardcore wrestler. When we were in Connecticut with Big Time Wrestling.
Hell of a talent if you don't even remember her name, Johnny.
No, you know what? When you get to be 59.
and a half. Come on now, brother.
As a matter of fact, she just did an interview. And she was against the Dudley Boys, and they actually put this woman through the table. I tell you, it was one of the best hardcore matches I have seen. And even when they came to the back, it was like, wow, this lady is outstanding. Outstanding. So you can't tell me that it doesn't work, and you have no way. And again, I'm going to pick up on one comment that you made. One comment. Well, when men or women go to the bathroom, my friend, I have been at many WWE events, many indie events, and I will tell you this: I have seen a lot of gentlemen and ladies get up to take a piss in plain English at a championship match. At a tag team match involving men. So please do not use that as an example because it's degradation. It's demeaning. It means nothing. You don't have the statistics to back up your comment.
I want to see. That's fine. If you want to talk statistics, I want to see one statistic that says pushing the women the way they have since the summer of 2015 has led to one increase in popularity in that company anywhere across the board. Anywhere across the board. They gave them their WrestleMania main event like they wanted to, and the fans basically left the venue depressed. It was so sad.
Well, but whose fault? Stop and think about this. You know what? It's the same thing with anything that we have. Anything that we have. You've got to remember something. If you're a baker, if you're a car sale, whatever, if the product isn't what they want, you're not going to get the response you're looking for. So you and I can digress. We can sit here all day and argue about statistics. The only way you're going to get statistics is from the WWE. You have an in there that I don't have that type of in, I guess. But why not get statistics from them? Obviously, there's been an increase in business relative to the performance of these outstanding women athletes. Otherwise, I will say this, and the chairman of the board can text me, call me, and tell me to go to hell that I'm wrong. He would not keep them on the card and would be doing those stupid gimmick matches again. So there is a reason why it's still there. It's about time the women have come into their own, and it's about time we give them what they need, the credibility, the ability to perform, to be athletic just as well as the men.
Well, my final thought for the segment is I agree with you to that point, but I think they should have a WWE like they have a WNBA. Let these women have their own platform and not have to share it with the men.
I'll tell you what, if they ever think about doing that, I'd be willing to do anything I could to help promote that and make sure that it works, because I believe, done properly, and I've been an advocate of this for a long time. I'm not going to stop preaching. I'll bet you we can succeed. I'll bet you we can show them that we are an important part of the wrestling picture.
All right, Johnny, this episode went a little bit longer and a little off the rails, more than I expected it to be. We've had Howard Miller trying to get into the studio for the past 10 minutes or so, but I haven't been able to get a break in. Why don't we wrap up this episode, Johnny, where it's been so exciting? I know you're going to be coming back to the studio soon once you and Margot Ouellette return from some of your world travels to try and avoid the coronavirus. I know you've been in part of the northern hemisphere where the virus hasn't affected many to keep your health. That's a good thing.
I'm ready.
All right. Well, Johnny, it has been a great week for us here in Boston Wrestling. Tuesday, I don't know if you saw the episode, but you should. You'll get a kick out of it with Tony Atlas's At Your House, where he gives not wrestling stories, but life advice to kick off 2021. We had a great interview with Tatanka on Wednesday. Last night, Marty Jannetty had maybe the longest episode in the history of the show at over 90 minutes with Party with Marty. And then next week, we have more classic clips. We have more great TV review programs. Tuesday night at 10 p.m., it's Tony Atlas. Next Wednesday night, it's Wrestling Insider Special Edition. After AEW Dynamite and NXT wrap up, Savio Vega joins us for an in-depth look at the mid-90s WWF. Marty Jannetty is back with us again every Thursday night as usual at 10. And then it will be yet another fabulous Friday. The only question is, will we see the man in person? Will he be on many of his world travels? That remains to be seen. Johnny, any final thoughts before we go and I can let Howard in the building?
No, let Howard in the building. All I can say is God bless. Happy New Year. God bless America. United we stand.
Unbelievable, wrestling fans. And if you want that early, ad-free access to all of these great Wrestling Insider in-studio talk shows, if you want access to the full-length studio shoot interview DVDs like we have with Sheiky Baby, Kamala, Paul Bearer, and so many more, and if you want to help keep wrestling legends working for less than a cup of coffee down at Starbucks, visit us at patreon.com/Boston Wrestling. And of course, the eBay store is always open. We got some great merchandise. For my partner in crime on Friday nights, John Cena Sr., I'm Dan Marati. We'll see you next Friday night, 10 p.m. Don't be late. You and yours be well, stay healthy. Good night.